It is quite a spell I don't publish a video here on YouTube. The reason is that I've been writing books. Here is my first book, L'idea pericolosa di Gesù. It is written in Italian and the title means Jesus' dangerous idea. A Darwinian meditates over the secret sayings of the Gospel of Thomas, the twin of Jesus. It's a 420-page book. After this, I publish a second book, pocket size, 95 pages in all. You can read it in less than 2 hours, and above all, I translated it into English. Here you can see its cover. The interpretation of the secret sayings of the Gospel of Thomas, an introduction to Jesus' dangerous idea, reasons for an atheist Jesus. In this video I'm actually going to read from the first part of this book. At the end of 2012 I published the book Jesus' Dangerous Idea, and on the 29th of December of the same year, by invitation of the Cultural Association Terra del Sole, I presented it at the imposing Palazzo Aragona Cutò with the patronage of the Comune of Bagheria, a city near Palermo. I have extracted this brief essay from the text of my presentation, which can be read independently from the book. Indeed, its principal aim is to communicate the central and most revolutionary idea which is hidden within the secret sayings of the Gospel of Thomas. Ideally, this talk will divide into 2 parts. In the first part, we will note a series of facts which objectively characterize and distinguish the Gospel of Thomas from the canonical ones. In the second, we will deal with its message. Generally, when one speaks of the historic Jesus, and justifiably of Jesus of the faith, one begins by considering the canonical Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Canonical, when referring to a document, indicates that it is a part of the canon of the Bible, that is, of the list of documents accepted by the religious tradition of the faith. There are Gospels, and many of them, that have not been accepted by tradition and are therefore not part of the Bible. These Gospels are called Apocrypha. Apocrypha comes from the Greek and originally means hidden or secret. The apocryphal Gospels are of little or no interest to the devotees of the faith. Generally, they are also of little interest to the researchers into the historic Jesus, even though they are useful in understanding the historical evolution of the Christian religion. A notable exception is the Gospel of Secret Sayings of Thomas. In 1945, in a desert area near a small Egyptian village called Nag Hammadi, a series of manuscript books, codices to use a more technical term, were found which must have been part of the library of a religious community in the 4th century AD. In one of these books, contained on some 10 papyrus leaves, was found the Gospel of Secret Sayings of Thomas, written in the Coptic language. Coptic is the ancient Egyptian language written with Greek letters, with the addition of a few more graphemes. The following figure shows the transcription in Coptic characters of the first lines of Thomas's Gospel, as it appears in the original on papyrus. For those who know Greek, it is easy to read the word Apokryphon written at the top, very large and centrally placed. However, here the word Apokryphon cannot mean non-canonical, because the term would only have been used with this meaning later on. In this context, Apokryphon actually means secret, hidden. Let's read the same words translated into English. The secret things. These are the hidden words which the living Jesus spoke, and Didymus Judas Thomas wrote them down. This Gospel at once announces an important fact. It is not anonymous, but states itself who wrote it: Judas Thomas the twin, Didymus. None of the canonical Gospels say or can say the same. In fact, we describe them as according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, or according to John because it is religious tradition which has attributed these texts to these authors, though there is no actual historical certainty. Let's return to Thomas. The incipit is followed by 114 sayings without any narrative context and, generally, separated from each other merely by the phrase Jesus said. Before continuing, I would like to call your attention to some features of the writing. We note that the words secret and hidden are synonymous and appear right in the beginning. The word Didymos and Thomas are attributed to Judas, not to be confused with the infamously notorious Judas Iscariot, and both mean twin, the first in Greek, the second in Aramaic, the language spoken by Jesus. In addition, and still in the incipit, Jesus is he who speaks and is the living, while Judas Thomas is he who writes and is, as we have said, the twin. Let's proceed to the first saying of the Gospel. And he said, "Whoever finds the meaning of these words will not taste death." To find the meaning of these words and not to taste death are two concepts which recall respectively the expressions hidden words and the living that we have just read in the incipit. The next saying, the second, says, Jesus said, "Let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. If he becomes troubled, he will be astonished and he will become king over the all." The concept concerning something to be found is repeated in Saying 94, for example. Jesus said, "He who seeks will find, and he who knocks will be let in." Going back to Saying 2, we note the expressions related to becoming troubled, to being astonished, and to becoming king of the all. We will only analyze in detail 3 of the remaining 112 sayings. Here they are in the order in which they appear in the Gospel. Jesus said, "The man old in days will not hesitate to ask a small child 7 days old about the place of life, and he will live. For many who are first will become last, and the last first, and they will become one and the same." In this saying, note the breadth of enigmas, paradoxes, and peculiar expressions. An adult questions a newborn child who cannot understand these words, let alone reply to them. Even if he could reply, is it not the task of adults to communicate the meaning to give to life according to the cultural and religious principle of the society in which they live? In other words, it is children who learn from adults, and not vice versa. This at least is according to the logic at the base of religious traditions. Bear in mind, for example, the Catechism. But should the old man not hesitate? Is there some danger present in questioning a newborn child? What is the place of life? Why exactly 7 days? The phrase "he will live" seems to recall the expressions "the living" and "he will not taste death" that we have read in the initial lines of the Gospel. But in what sense? We are struck finally by the 2 paradoxical conclusions of the saying. The first will become last, a phrase which also often occurs in the Synoptic Gospels, even if in different contexts to this, and many will become one and the same. Let us pass to the second of the sayings on which we are concentrating this evening. Jesus said, "Blessed is the lion that a person will eat, and the lion will become human, and cursed is the person whom a lion will eat, and the lion will become human." This saying is also enigmatic. Let's also note this particular game of symmetry and inversion. The saying is divided into two parts which, ethically speaking, contrast with each other. The first is blessed, the second is cursed. The second phrase is obtained from the first by transposing the subject with its complement, while the final phrase of each of the two parts is repeated exactly the same. Let's finally note that the cursed part occurs with common sense because generally it is the lion that consumes man by eating their flesh, while the blessed part inverts common logic, taking on a paradoxical aspect. It is indeed unusual for a man to kill a lion in order to eat its flesh. Finally, I offer you the following saying. Jesus said, "Wretched is the body that depends on a body, and wretched is the soul that depends on this too." At this point, the sense of the initial lines of the Gospel become clear. The words of Jesus hide a message under a veil of enigmatic appearance, which the reader is required to lift.